Olá pessoal, mais uma vez estamos aqui para falar um pouquinho sobre cultura internacional e dessa vez vamos falar sobre a Austrália. Eu entrevistei um amigo meu australiano e nós falamos sobre questões sociais, sobre imigração, sobre... tem uma questão que é muito importante, é um erro comum que as pessoas cometem aqui e nós cometemos esse erro no nosso vídeo também. Ele, australiano, conhece e eu conheço porque eu estudei um pouco também aqui. Para você ver que como nós estudamos e ainda nós conseguimos cometer esse erro, então é algo bem comum para quem está chegando. As pessoas se referem muito aos indígenas australianos como aborígenes, né? E isso é ofensivo, é considerado ofensivo para eles, eles não se consideram aborígenes. Então sempre quando nós nos direcionamos a eles, vamos falar deles, nós falamos dos indígenas, né? Os indígenas australianos, que foram os primeiros povos que habitaram aí a Austrália antes da colonização pelos britânicos. A Austrália tem aí 122 anos, é um país novo e tem uma multiculturalidade enorme. Além disso, no vídeo eu iniciei o vídeo falando sobre os aborígenes e aí o Aaron, ele meio que pegou esse gancho também e logo depois que nós finalizamos toda a entrevista, ele me enviou uma mensagem e falou: Ricardo, eu não acredito que eu fiz isso, né? Então eu falei: não, pode deixar, eu sempre faço a minha introdução, eu vou fazer essa correção, claro. Eu acho que foi bom isso ter acontecido, porque fica como um alerta para quem está chegando, né? Essa diferença, que aborígenes não é a correta forma de se referir a eles. É um povo maravilhoso, né? Um povo que habita aqui há milhares de anos. Outro ponto é quando me refiro à questão da comida tradicional na Austrália. Para quem está estudando, muitas vezes a gente se cobra muito, né? Eu cometi um erro e você fica meio que ali se julgando por ter errado. E eu cometi esse erro também quando eu pergunto sobre um prato australiano, a ordem, né, correta de perguntar. Mas vocês verão que isso não atrapalhou em nada, né? O Aaron entendeu o que eu estava perguntando e a conversa fluiu normalmente, né? Eu estou aqui já há quase 5 anos. Quando eu vim para a Austrália eu não falava, meu inglês ele era zero. E eu sei que cada dia eu sempre estou aprendendo algo novo, uma palavrinha nova. Claro que hoje eu consigo falar com mais facilidade, mas mesmo assim você sempre está cometendo algum erro. E também os australianos, porque existe algo na nossa cabeça, e não é só na minha, mas de várias pessoas, de achar que as pessoas, os nativos, eles não cometem erros, e eles cometem erros, assim como nós, quando falamos português também, falamos algo errado, falando nós foi, nós vai, nós veio. Então existe também isso, né, com quem é nativo inglês. Não é porque eles são nativos na língua inglesa, da língua inglesa, que eles não cometem erros também, né? E isso de forma nenhuma atrapalha a comunicação. Então eu tenho certeza que vocês irão adorar, vocês vão gostar. Deixem seus comentários. Essa entrevista ela é em torno de mais ou menos 25 minutos. Deixem seus comentários, aquilo que vocês quiserem saber mais, e buscarei aí com prazer responder todas as dúvidas, tá bom? Bye bye! Hello everyone, as we talked before, I'm gonna talk today with Aaron. Aaron, he's an Australian.
Yeah.
And I'm very happy to have you here today.
I'm excited.
Actually,
nervous.
thank you for having me.
Yeah. Yeah. Welcome to my house.
Aaron, when I came to Australia, my first impression was everything works in Australia. Mm-hmm. Everything is beautiful.
Yeah.
I could see beautiful people on the streets everywhere.
I agree.
But after a while, of course, I could see some social issues.
Mm-hmm.
But when I came, I didn't speak any English. I couldn't understand actually what was wrong or not.
Yeah.
Then when I learned a little bit more, I could understand. I got some social issues to tell you, and then you can tell me if it's true or not, if it's still a problem. for example, domestic violence.
Yeah, I would say.
Is it exist here? Aboriginal people is still a problem. Like there are some problems about Aboriginal people here. What about pineapple on pizza?
Oh god, I love pineapple on
It's a
pizza.
social issue.
I love it. Honestly, that's the best. Everyone else around me disagrees, but I will be loyal to pineapple on pizza.
So do you like?
Yes, love pineapple on pizza for starters. I would get that as my main pizza probably, like Hawaiian.
Cool.
So,
It's only an ice break to start our conversation. But I'd like to start first of all with Aboriginal people. What do you know about Aboriginal history and how it affects your life as well in Australia? I'd like to know what Australians think about, because I know it's a very controversial. Some people think like you need to move on, forget the past, just move on.
Australia is very divided.
But there are
with that.
sensationalisms as well sometimes. And how you balance?
So like I said, Australia is very divided when it comes to that. One half of Australia is very much like, remember the past, apologize for what's happened to the Aboriginal community, and the other half doesn't really care, and it's sort of like their privilege in a way that they cannot care about it, but the Aboriginal people have to deal with that every day and the repercussions of the past. So I don't know, I think it's good to be conscious of people's histories, where they come from, how it happens. But I would say, like, for me personally, I could do more, but I don't speak up like other people do. But I wish I would, but it's just like hard to have a voice as like a white Australian. You don't want to talk for Aboriginal people.
This issue affects your life in some way? Not really.
I wouldn't say in like Southern Australia, no, like where we live. I feel like it's less prevalent, like the issues in your face. But in Northern Australia, you can tell that Aboriginal communities are purposely put in poor areas or very remote areas in the country where there's not much technology, I would say, to sort of support that. So yeah, but for me, I wouldn't say I'm affected by it in a way.
I've done a research about they represent 3% of the population in Australia, but they are overrepresented in the jail, in the criminal justice.
It's because
29%. That's a lot.
It's because in the past, like I would say in the 40s, 50s, 60s in Australia, the government, predominantly white, all white at the time, sort of fed the communities, Aboriginal communities, alcohol and drugs, opium, heroin, sort of to purposely keep them down, sort of below the white man in a way. So I feel like that's why Aboriginal people are more prevalent in jails or have criminal activity, because they were sort of put in that position by higher powers that are out of their control. Yeah, I would say that.
See, what about this stolen generation? What do you know about that?
Well, I know about the rabbit-proof fence, which was a big long fence that went across all of Australia, and a lot of Aborigines followed that fence to, like, the children of the stolen generation would follow that fence to try and get back home, but a lot of them got caught. There's a famous movie called The Rabbit-Proof Fence. I highly suggest it. It's a very intense movie emotionally, but I feel like it's a good watch to get an
I watched
understanding.
this one because I was studying counseling.
Oh yeah.
And then for a few weeks we studied about diversity.
And then we study more about the original. That's why I'm telling you about.
That I like used to watch that movie so much as a kid. Like it's depressing because I was a child,
Depressing, yeah.
but I don't know. It just resonated with me. I felt bad. I felt terrible. I don't know. Aboriginal people went through a lot in
Do you
Australia.
feel guilty in some way? Because even I don't think it's fair, but sometimes you can see people feel like they blame themselves for being right.
I
Like,
I would feel I feel guilty, but not. I had no. Oh god, I don't know what to say. God, this gets cut out.
I'm gonna give you my opinion.
Mm.
Like, you didn't do anything for them
Yeah.
to affect them.
Yes.
Why you should feel guilty? You know?
It's good to have.
I think it's bad when you look the history, you look behind, and then my people have done bad things,
Terrible things, yes.
terrible things. But if you cannot blame yourself for that.
Of course, and I think that's where I was sort of getting at is, like, it's more empathy for the situation,
Yeah,
more.
that's the way I think.
Less than feeling guilty, but there's a hint of guilt because it's like, I'm the white guy in Australia, you know, I represent that for them. So there is that sort of guilt feeling associated to like that situation for me anyway.
Changing a little bit the conversation, do you feel privileged to be Australian?
Personally, for my story and my past, no. I won't, yeah. I am like the lowest class in Australia, and so is my family. We all grew up very poor, living in the country. I feel like there is privileges in Australia that we get, like Medicare and free doctor consultations and stuff like that. That's really been beneficial. But I would say I was less privileged than the average Australian growing up. Sort of lived in a shack, and whereas my friends lived in 3-bedroom houses and stuff, I never had that. So yes and no. I'm privileged and I'm grateful that I live here and that I was born here, because you don't get that. Not everyone gets the chance to live in a country like this, with a system like this. But yeah.
You like Melbourne?
Yeah, I love Melbourne. I'm like loyal Melbourne all the way. Like, compared to Sydney or the Gold Coast, I feel like Melbourne is the most diverse, the most open, in regards to LGBT, and I don't know, I just like it. The food's good.
Melbourne is very cosmopolitan city.
Yes.
And I think that's the most important thing that I love here.
That's the thing I love about. You feel Sex in the City when you're here, you know? Yeah.
But if you go like a few hours from Melbourne, you can see other Australia.
It's like almost a black and white. Like it just sort of happens out of nowhere with all the fields and the cows and the farms. Yeah, it's just like we sort of look at Melbourne as 3 rings. So there's like the inner city, which is the main ring, and then the outer one, which would be Preston, this sort of ring, and then the third ring is like all the rural countryside sort of towns where I grew up. So I sort of worked my way into the city over time, over 20 years. Yeah.
So what do you think about immigration? Because it could have the good side, but we hear a lot about the immigration, they are stealing our jobs.
I don't believe that they're stealing our jobs. I feel like diversity and multiculturalism in Australia is needed, and it creates like an open dialogue for culture and for people to just learn in general. It's like a hub of like multicultural learning, and like every day, like when I work in the city, so I see every walk of life in Melbourne, and I feel like that's such a special thing. Rural Australians might not agree with that. I think they're the ones that think
They
the
think
jobs
about
are
that.
being stolen.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's really the case. I think they have a right to work here if they they want to. Australia's open for everyone, I feel. It should be. Anyway.
I don't know if you know more about that, but refugees, they are a problem nowadays.
I wouldn't say I'm like 100% familiar with like that stuff. I know that like Australia has pretty strict sea borders, and a lot of people do try and immigrate illegally on boats and stuff, but I feel like they get accepted in, and there's a process that happens to see if they can stay here. It's not like you're turned away instantly. I think that's the case from what I've researched.
Do you think about these people, like immigrants like me, coming to Australia? They think Australia is the best like country in the world.
I think
they are struggling like to get the citizenship.
Yeah, I feel like it's like I feel like for immigrants it's like coming to Hollywood, coming to Australia. You know, it's glitz and glam and all that. But yeah, Australia has its ups and downs, but I feel like they've made it more difficult for visa people here, especially recently with the working change of the 24 hours a week for student visas. That sucked. Like all of my friends I work with now, I see less because the government forced them not to work more, which inherently makes them poorer, which inherently makes it harder for them. So that's, I feel like, a bit racist, but yeah. Sorry.
You're not racist.
I feel like the government is just, puts you guys in a position that makes it harder to live than ever to live here, especially with rising costs. I feel like almost all of our products have doubled in price, so it's just gotten harder to live here, I feel, or to actually get citizenship, and it's expensive.
I think it's a consequence of pandemic as well.
Yes, of
everywhere,
course.
Everything is expensive, and the rent is high.
Yeah, exactly.
It's getting higher.
Yeah, the pandemic made it like a lot worse. Like everything worse. Like it made doctor visits more expensive. Like
in Australia, people say a lot about freedom. Australian preserves freedom of speech, like LGBT rights as well. But freedom doesn't mean we can do everything in Australia.
Yeah.
Like,
of course. Yeah.
For example, in Brazil, comparing, we can drink alcohol on the street.
Oh yeah, not here.
You can sell things on the beach. You cannot find anything on the beach here.
No.
At the beach, you cannot sell anything or
they're like nature
buy
reserves.
or have drinks.
Yeah.
Nothing.
It's
It's like a bit unfair because usually in Brazil people go to the beach because they can like have drinks, eat, and people all the time are selling stuff on at the beach.
Yeah.
And then you think, oh, Australia has a beautiful beach, and they don't maybe don't enjoy it. We cannot enjoy properly the beach, actually we can.
I would say like growing up, I enjoyed the beach with alcohol. Like it was, but it is illegal to have open drinks in the street or in any public place. I feel like police aren't really overly focused on that issue of public drinking. It's still illegal, but there's bigger issues in the police's mind when they're patrolling, you know. They're looking for like hard drugs and more disorderly people rather than people just drinking. Because Australia has a big drinking culture. Everyone likes to drink. Our Prime Minister drank a beer out of a shoe. So, ages ago. But yeah, it's sort of, we have a lot of sort of strict things, but people don't really follow them anyway. But like you said, with the selling and stuff, Business Australia, you need permits for everything. If you're selling on the street, police will be called on you, within an hour. But there are people out there that, I don't know, car washes and stuff, just at traffic lights.
Yeah, a while back I done some stories talking about that, because sometimes people think, oh, in Australia everything's perfect, everyone is very educated, but actually they follow the rules, otherwise they can get fined.
Exactly, the fines in Australia are very intense and large.
Other thing, showing affect in public space.
Affection. Yep.
For example, for me it's different as well, because in Brazil you can see people showing affection everywhere. Sometimes it's too much. Okay? Even with LGBT people or straight people as well. Right? Hugging, kissing.
I would say it's common in Australia, public displays of affection.
I don't see much.
Really?
Yeah, I don't.
I feel not making out and, going crazy, but I guess couples do like to show that they're couples in public. It's not really frowned upon. I would say people are more open to that when it's 2 a.m. in Melbourne and everyone's, partied.
I think we need to be respectful in everywhere. I think sometimes you need to understand kids or
of course, yeah,
families around.
You can't just be making out with someone on the train with a child there. That would be weird.
Other issues. So maybe social issues.
Alright, let's do this.
I've been living here for about 5 years. I couldn't find the Australian traditional dish.
That's the thing. I think there are only two traditional.
Sometimes we've got a pie. Okay, but pie is not dish.
I know.
Sometimes lamb.
I would say a lamington, which is a cake. It's a square cube of sponge cake coated in chocolate and coconut. Sometimes it has jam, strawberry jam inside. But I think that's the Australian sort of dish. Or pavlova, which is just eggs and fruit. But we don't really have a dinner meal dish. That's what I mean with it's very multicultural. It's we accept all cuisines as just what we eat.
In my research I could find 75 different cuisines in Melbourne.
Damn.
It's a lot.
I know, that's God, Menulog loves that.
More than 116 religions.
Holy shit.
And people from more than 200 countries. Only
200 countries
200
in Melbourne.
Yeah.
Whoa, that's insane. You can see it though on the streets.
I love it because sometimes, maybe all the time, when you meet someone, and then you ask where you from, and then always different countries.
Yeah,
always.
Totally.
Sometimes countries that you haven't heard before.
My work, I would say everyone is from a different country. Every co-worker, different parts of the world all came to Melbourne, and now we're all a family there. But Egypt and Lebanon and China, Hong Kong, Philippines, so many countries. Yeah, that's cool.
Can I tell you my view about Australians?
Yeah, go. Hit me with it, do it.
That's my impression, my my view, like for me, Australians, they are very spontaneous.
Yeah, I would agree with
Yeah.
that.
They're respectful as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sometimes they have no patience.
Oh, that's very true, especially in Melbourne. Melbourne people don't have patience. They're just pissed and in a rush. That's sort of how Melbourne people are. But yeah, definitely impatient. And on the road, social situations, they just want to get it over with and done, you know? Yeah, I would agree with that, because I'm like that.
What do you like to do in your free time?
I play a lot of video games. I like to, I'm a very solitude person, so I like to spend time doing my hobbies that aren't very entertaining for others, but entertaining for me. I watch a lot of Japanese animated cartoons. I like to go out dancing. Like, dancing is where you bare your soul on the dance floor, so I need that hit every 2 weeks or so. Yeah, I don't
Places
have.
that you like to go?
Pardon?
Places that you like to visit?
Oh, I love Phillip Islands. Me and my friend go there literally once a year, twice a year, 3 times a year, depending. Favorite places. There's a lot of good places in Melbourne that are like nondescript, that don't have a name to it, like cool alleyways that are like graffitied all over, like even the bins and everything is just one picture. I find that stuff cool, like the back streets of Melbourne. Yeah, that's fun.
I think maybe you don't gone through all of my questions.
Work a bitch. Alright, you
What do
captured
you
my
know-
good side.
I know you told me you know some Portuguese.
Yes,
words.
lightly. Oh god, you're putting me on the... Okay.
Why did you study Portuguese?
Because there was a Portuguese boy I liked, and I wanted to impress him. And it worked. You know, I didn't speak it for like a couple of weeks, and then out of nowhere I just said something really nice, and they were like, oh my god. Yeah, I don't know, I just...
Can you tell me something that you know?
Okay. Você merece bom dia. I know that one.
Você merece bom dia. Like you deserve a good day.
Yes. I feel like that's more direct. I feel like that's nicer to say than just have a good day. Oh god, I'm so on the spot. You can't do this to me. I'm embarrassed. I get very shy speaking it publicly to other people. I'll like recite it to myself.
I'm sure everyone will like you. Because you're very sweet, very kind. And looks like Thor.
The amount of times I get that comparison. I pretend I hate it, but I love it.
Okay, I think we're about to finish.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
And then I'd like to ask you again to tell to everyone what you know in Portuguese.
Oh my god, okay.
Can you say again?
Yeah. Just give me a second. Okay.
But instead you say você, you're gonna say vocês.
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 Okay. Vocês merecem bom dia. I'm so bad.
Hello, bye bye.
Bye.